So I'm doing a series of videos called Story Time here on this channel, and it comes from a lot of things that have happened since my daughter Krista was shaken at 3 months old. She survived being shaken by my ex-husband, which was her biological father. She survived that with very severe disabilities, and then she lived to be 3.5 years old, and then she passed away, which was now about 3 years ago in 2020. And so that's just a little bit of backstory. But I really just want to tell the story of how God will show up in your life and how He will be there for you and how He makes all the difference in the situation. So you can be going through the most difficult thing, like going through shaken baby syndrome, where one day my child was perfectly healthy and fine, and the next day her entire life had been changed and she was severely disabled and she ended up dying from that. And so I want to talk about and share how God shows up during those times. He doesn't leave you in that, and no matter what you're facing, He will show up for you. And that's not to say that you will always feel like He is right there and that everything's great, because it doesn't always feel that way. You're going to feel some really raw and painful emotions and heartache, and you will go through it. And it makes me think a lot of, like, the Psalms and David. I could relate to a lot of feelings he was having in the Psalms, going through a lot of pain and heartache and being scared and fear of the unknown and feeling like you're being attacked and things like that. Even though God's promise over your life is that He'll take care of you and that He'll work it together for your good, and that He created you with a purpose and for a purpose. And you could have God even straight up say to you, I have chosen you, I'm going to protect you. But there's still going to be moments where it doesn't feel that way. It's hard in your flesh when you are living in the flesh, and it's hard. There will be those hard times where it doesn't feel like God is listening. It doesn't feel like God is around. It doesn't feel like He's protecting you. It doesn't feel like He's providing for you. But you can rest assured that those feelings will fade, and you'll return to the place that God has got your back always, and that you'll be regretting ever doubting that, and that you'll be in a place of, like, God, help my unbelief. I had unbelief about the fact that You'd provide, and I feel bad now that I had that unbelief, because You did provide. And so, Lord, help my unbelief. And you can allow God to work any situation for your good, no matter how terrible it is. You can allow Him to grow you through the situation and to show you the way and give you wisdom and discernment. And a big way to do that is to get into His Word. And so when you are getting into His Word, He will speak to you through His Word, because His Word is alive, it's living, it's God-breathed. And so getting into that can help you. But it also, getting into His Word and learning what it says, learning about different people's scenarios in the Bible and how they responded to things. First of all, it's going to help you feel like you're not so alone. Because when you have people like Job, Job is hard to compete with if you're trying to compete. But, he went through such terrible, terrible things, and you got to see that unfold. And it's, motivating, and it's encouraging to see that someone even like Job went through all those things, and he still respected and trusted God, even in the worst situations that you could imagine. And he even had people turning against him, his own friends turning against him and blaming him. And it just gives you this feeling of, gosh, if Job can get through this, and he can have that kind of mindset, and he can grow through it, and he can push and persevere, and he can, God restored everything for him. And that can give you hope too. But you're not going to know these things unless you're in the Word, and you're reading the Word, and you're reading these stories. And so it's extremely encouraging in a lot of ways to get on or not to get on, but to get into the Word and to allow it to give you this motivation and encouragement when you need it. And so it is, very important to me, especially when you're going through something difficult. If you're going through a difficult season, then you really need to be in the Word, because you need that to permeate your brain. You need that to permeate your mindset. You need that to be able to push forward and to persevere. You need that constant reminder of God does show up, and here's some examples. And just because you're going through something terrible doesn't mean you've done something wrong, or doesn't mean that God's not there. And it's just good to have that reminder. And then, praying constantly. It's important whenever you're on the mountaintop too, but when you're in the valley, especially, staying in constant communication with God. He can handle the burdens that you have. Allow Him to help you carry that, and allow Him to give you wisdom on how to make decisions. Because when you are in stress, fear, worry, all of those things, terrible things happening, it's easy to make bad decisions, and it's easy to make decisions out of fear. And so ask God for discernment and to help you have patience to make decisions and to not make those decisions out of fear. Tell yourself, I partner with God. I do not partner with fear. I am feeling fear, but I'm not going to partner with it. It doesn't have a place here. I don't want it here. I am releasing the fear, and I'm partnering with God, no matter what the natural realm is presenting to me right now. It looks like this situation is hopeless, but I know in the supernatural realm, in God's eyes, nothing is ever hopeless. And so, there's a lot of times that you have to tell yourself things like that. And, I hope this can be encouraging to you if you're going through something. And even if you're not really going through anything that traumatic or that bad, and life is just kind of calm right now, then you need to prepare for the day that it might not be this way. And the way you prepare is to be prayed up, to be, knowledgeable in God's Word, so that you can pull from that knowledge whenever you need it. Don't wait to start reading God's Word whenever, you can. It's always a good time to start reading God's Word. But start now. Start today. Create a habit of reading His Word every day so that you can pull from that when you need it, and not be in this moment of you're in such trauma and, heartache and things that it's difficult to open the Bible, or it's difficult to find time because you're going through such a difficult time that's requiring all your effort and energy that it's hard to have time to open the Bible. Get that information, memorize it now while things are calm. But, I just want to remind you to create that habit of reading God's Word every single day. You always need it, whether you're, on top of the mountain or not. You always need that. And you never know when you might really need it, and you'll be wishing that you had spent this time that you're sitting in right now reading His Word, and just let it permeate your mind and heart. But yeah, so this story that I wanted to share was how important God's Word has been in every situation. And if I have regrets about, going through that time of shaken baby syndrome and stuff, I wish that I had known more about God's Word. I wish that I had more weapons in my tool belt, more tools that I had been studying before the traumatic situation happened. So I would go back and change that if I could. But, you can start right now today, preparing for the future, preparing for everyday life. You don't know what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes of your life. You don't know. And so be prayed up and read God's Word, and, fast, tithe, whatever you feel like God's calling you to do, and make those necessary changes. Don't wait. Don't put it off any longer. So you can find my full shaken baby syndrome story in my book, Going Through Trials with God, 7 Lessons Learned Through Shaken Baby Syndrome, which you can find on Amazon or Audible, or you can just type in Sierra Cook into Amazon. But I look forward to seeing you on the next video.